I'm living the dream. How are you?
Well, I'm going to have to say I'm living the dream too, aren't I? Or else I'm going to have a bit of FOMO going on. And dead set, I thought, God, she looks like Queen Latifah sitting there. And I say that in a good way because it
I love Queen
is.
Latifah.
Oh my God.
I've been creative since I was a little kid, 100%. I used to have like open mic talent shows in the backyard of our suburban home in southern Chicago, south side of Chicago. And I charged admission, and I was like, the MC and stuff. And I got all the neighborhood kids to perform various acts. And yeah, and like I've been singing my whole life. I used to, sing to Jesus Christ Superstar, like in the house, like walking around doing stuff. First 100% always been creative and march to the beat of my own drum, which was not always easy because kids can be cruel. I was very, very different kid. And went on to high school, bada bang, bada boom, went on to college, and my degree is in English composition and a minor in sculpture. Okay. So, and modern dance, of course. And so, had a mohawk all through college, wore all black leather, kind of did my thing, and really found my voice. And I went to this great college, Beloit College in Wisconsin, small school. And anyway, I graduated from school, and I moved to Chicago city, like the actual city. I grew up in the suburbs. And anyway, I'm living in Chicago, Michael. Well, like I'm fantastic. I'm great at parties. I have all sorts of ideas. I have a liberal arts education, but I have no idea what I'm gonna do with my life, right? I don't even know how to write a resume, even though I have a writing degree, right? And because my school didn't prepare us for that stuff. And anyway, so here comes the story of your question. So I get a job. I'm working as a paralegal. Okay. And my boss, his name was Marshall Patton. He's since passed. So I guess I can say his name on here. And so we were like right in the center downtown. I'm like on the 16th floor, it's like, boom, it's like in the middle of everything. And every day, say like about 5:30, like I'd go to him and I'd be like, Mr. Patton, I'm trying to go to this really cool modern dance class at Moming Studio. Like, am I going to be able to go, leave pretty soon, right? And then he would be like, listen, Victoria, we just have to work until the work is done, and I'd be like, okay, Mr. Banner, and I go back and type, and then the next day I'd like go to him maybe at like 6 o'clock, right? And like, well, Mr. Patner, like there's a cool concert at the cultural center, like progressive jazz, and I really want to go, and can I go now? And he'd be like, Victoria, this is a salary job. Okay, I don't know. I can't tell you what time you're gonna go, but you can't go now. And so we would go back and forth this dance for like 2 months, right? Until finally one day he calls me in his office, okay? And he's like, I gotta do the glasses again. He's like, listen, Victoria, you're a really interesting girl, okay? You got a lot of ideas, and I like that about you, okay? But here's the thing. You're too smart and you're too creative to work for anybody else. So I'm gonna fire you, okay? But I'm gonna give you 2 months severance pay, all right? And in this 2 months, I want you to figure out what the heck you're gonna do with your life, because you gotta work for yourself. And that's the story of how it began. So I cried all the way home on the train, right? Even I hated the job, but I got fired, so I cried because I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I did what I've always been doing my whole life, which is that I went back and started journaling because I'm a writer, so journaling and journaling and journaling and journaling. And I'm like, okay, well, I asked myself like kind of these three questions, like, who am I, right? And what are my skills? What are my gifts? What do I have to offer? And like, what's the story that I came to tell? Like, what's my jam? What's my mission? What do I want to do?
You're talking about running around the house singing too. I used to make everybody get tennis rackets, and I used to set up bands, and I used to make them pretend to play guitars playing tennis rackets, and then the kids wouldn't want to do it, and I'd crack the shits, you have to. And then they would all run off and play with my sisters. Like, I don't like Karen's games. I don't want to be in a band.
Because when you're doing that, it doesn't feel like work, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's, you and I were speaking the other day, and like, with Creativity Lab and all the work that I'm doing now, like I will spend like 12, 13-hour days and even, forget to eat, right? Because it's just like, I'm having so much fun, and it's the work of play, which
Yeah.
actually is a thing,
Yeah.
and so that which you're just infused with your whole soul and your spirit and your passion and your body and your everything in that in that journey,
Yeah.
there's a synchronicity that happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other piece of that is like an entrepreneur, if you're questioning if you're an entrepreneur or not, here's a good one. Like an entrepreneur will work 80 hours a week to build their own dream rather than work 40 hours a week to build someone else's dream. Because in every situation, when there's like door closing, the way the mind works is okay, but here's this other door that I'm going to open. I'm not going to wait for someone to open the
Yep.
door for me. I'm going to open it myself. And if the situation doesn't exist that I want, then I'm going to create the situation
Yep.
myself so that it exists.
Yep. Yep.
and I know it works because I've got, right, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, creativity lab, creativity lab, creativity lab, creativity lab. 5 different groups, women from all over the world, Australia, United States, like 7 different states, Canada. You know, it was like fire. Okay, then we get to like mid-January, and every single person I'm talking to is like, that sounds great, I'm tired. That sounds great, I'm depressed. That sounds great, I don't have any time. Really, are you working? No, I'm not working. Well, what are you doing right now? Well, nothing. But I just don't have time. So like resistance, okay? Like so much resistance. I've never heard so many no's in my life, okay? And I'm doing something now that I'm calling Creative Living Tribe,
Yep.
which is 1 hour a week, no homework in between, no projects in between. You come for an hour, you bring a pencil and a piece of paper. That's your whole preparation. And you get this massive infusion and inspirational, wonderful connection.
You've made me, before we got on this, you said get a pencil, get a pen, and
I
you
know.
and you bullied me into getting. Oh, we've got cards. Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to choose purple. I
Okay,
just love.
purple. And people at home, you could also do this exercise if you have a piece of paper. Okay, so this is a group exercise. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Okay, it's not a long time. And then there's a word on the other side of this card. Okay, so you're going to draw whatever's on this word, whatever's on this card. Okay, city.
I was going to do my own city. All right, city. Yep.
Your own. Karen's like, I cannot follow a direction. I'm going to do my own. Okay, stop.
Okay.
All right, now show us your city.
That's meant to be buildings and trees. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go orange.
You're going to pick orange? Okay. Here we go. Oh, this is great. Zoo.
Ooh, I'm not very good at drawing animals, but here we go. Right, here we go. In 10 seconds.
And you can't make it.
In 10 seconds, it's going to be messy, I can tell you.
100%. That's what we want. Messy is great. Okay, and stop.
Ah.
Like what I can't. Here's mine.
Oh, well, see, I did a bit more freedom. You did. It's supposed to be an elephant and a giraffe and a rhino, and it does not look anything like an elephant, giraffe, and rhino. I think you wanted me to do that exercise, and I hope everyone else at home did too, to actually start unlocking my right brain.
100%.
Oh, good.
Yeah, going back to the whole thing of being a creative entrepreneur and reinventing ourselves on the regular, like 75 times a day, right? So it's like, how can we reinvent ourselves if we're not in touch with that side of ourselves that's playful?
Yeah,
we can't, because we just be in roadblocks in our own mind. Like, I don't know, right? Yeah. But in that space of playing is where we're able to figure stuff out. So Soul Stories Live is once a month. It is a virtual show. We have adult storytellers, and they are true stories. They are on the average like 8 to 10 minutes, and we have different themes. Okay, so our show coming up in February, on February 21st, is pet peeves. So it's all people telling stories about things that they. It's actually really a funny show. And so it's different in the sense that we have the tellers record their stories in advance. And then my husband is a DJ, so we live remix the recordings of the stories together with soul music.
Yeah.
And so it's this very cool like radio show with like a story and a song and a story and a song. And
thing that's overlooked often is our ability or our capacity to create something that isn't even there. You know, and it's not as hard as people think. The hard thing is getting through our heads, you know, getting through all the resistance that's in our own minds and putting it out there. So I absolutely love that you've done it. And you also do prosperity and career coaching as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thread that runs through the whole thing. And I love what you just said about resistance, right?
Yeah.
Because the resistance, it is fabricated in our minds, but you know, what is the expression about faith? You know, like if we have faith in something that's unseen is truly faith, right?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody said it in a way better way than that, but you know what I'm talking about. So the point is like having faith in our own selves and our own possibility and our own potential when we can't see the outcome. That is the ultimate faith, right? When we first started the virtual show, we didn't know jack about Zoom. We didn't know anything about Zoom. We didn't have to know about Zoom, right? We're like, what? That's for business. I mean, you know, so our first soul stories, we used a 1-800 number. And we had everybody call a 1-800 number and we just broadcasted the show over the phone.
That's awesome.
It was like so great, but it was also crazy because like the music, you know, you couldn't hear the music. And there have been so many iterations and changes and tests and failures and then reimagining and
Yeah.
reinventing, right?
Yeah.
To get to where it is now.
Yeah.
But that, you know, and you know this yourself, right? There's so much satisfaction in that.
Yeah. Last
Yeah.
night, you know, we've just joined Clubhouse, and you know, some people are going to be saying, "What's Clubhouse?" And it's, you know, look it up rather than me explaining it. But it's a new social media platform. But you know, and you hold rooms, and so we decided we're going to do a Girls with Hammers one last night, and nobody turned up. It's just me, Nikki, sitting there talking to ourselves. You know, a couple of women bobbed in and they thought, God, this is boring, and they they took off out again. And we sat there for half an hour, you know, on our own, and just we said, what will we do? After 5 minutes, we said, oh, no one's here. Will we shut? And I said, no, we're not going to shut. We're going to sit here. We're going to feel this. You know, we're going to do this, and we're going to show up. And it doesn't matter who's here and who isn't. We're going to show up, and we're going to do the same on Wednesday night for Get Off the Bench. And probably no one will show up, but eventually they will. And this is, you have to push through the solo, you know, the isolation, the pain. You have to. And it's not failure. It's kind of like, well, that didn't work. Maybe the time's not right. Maybe we're boring as shit. Maybe the title wasn't good. You know, maybe whatever. And you just got to keep trying. And
So for 20 years, I've been making these little dolls. This is called an empowerment doll. Okay.
an empowerment
And
dog.
yes, she's an empowerment doll because on the back, she has a message. I don't know if you can read it. It says, "You are fabulous."
Yeah.
And I've been making these for 20 years and I sell these at farmers markets in the summertime. Okay. And here's why I'm telling you the story. So I used to live in Seattle and I would be down, you know, at the market selling these dolls. And sometimes I would have a whole show, like a 5 or 6 hour day, and never sell one doll. And you're sitting there and you're basically naked, right? Like you feel so vulnerable. Like you're like, hi, here's my art, and here's my, again, empowerment. It's positive and it's great, and
Yeah.
you know, whatever. So then I would go home and I would cry. There was like more crying. And
Yeah.
I would cry. And I'm like, why am I even doing this? But you know what I would do as soon as I got home and put my gear away? Make another doll. It'll let the cat out. Start today.
Yeah.
Start today. Don't wait for one day. First of all, we all know one day might not come. Second of all, you know, there's Julia Cameron, The Artist Way, one of the best books ever written about creativity. And she has this piece in there about, you know, well, people say, well, I don't know, like, how old am I going to be when I finally do, you know, pursue that long lost dream? And then her response is the same age you're going to be if you don't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, time is still passing. So give yourself micro goals. Okay. So if you always wanted to write a book, you know, buy a spiral notebook and write a page a day. You could
Mm.
do that. And even if you can't do that, you know, use your voice memo on your phone and record on the way to work your ideas that you want to say in your book. Like,
Yeah.
in other words, create an attainable goal where you're producing, there's this expression, create more than you consume.
Yep.
Okay. So just give yourself that goal. I'm going to create more than I consume. If I want to get back into music, you know what? I'm going to strum on the guitar. If I sound like crap, I'll go do it in the garage where nobody can hear me.
Yep.
But I'm just going to do it because I'm going to reintroduce it into my life again for the joy of doing it without worrying about an outcome.
If you're not going to do it for yourself, for God's sake, just do it. Just do it for someone else. And here I am, Sook, and I'm such a Sook, but the world, there are people out there just waiting for what you have to offer, and not just waiting because, oh, that's nice. They freaking need it.
You
They
need it.
they need it. And the only thing stopping us is our stupid thoughts and fears. Like, nothing else is stopping us. Nobody is standing in front of us saying, no, I'm here to officially block you. You may not pass. I'm the gatekeeper. Nobody is standing there doing that. It's our own stupid thoughts. And I understand where the thoughts come from. I understand our deep-seated beliefs, that stop us. But the truth is, they're not the truth. And I need to remind myself too of these things occasionally, and I need a giant kick up their butt, very often. But I do, but
Yep.
my job on this planet is to inspire people to just get out and do their thing. And God, you can only do what you can do, but Jesus, it is too late. It is too bloody late if we don't start now. We have to get moving. I just
It's true. It's true. And the other thing, Karen, is that people are watching us. People are watching you. People are watching me. People
Yeah.
are watching each other. And that courage and that tenacity and that resilience that you're talking about, other people can see that,
Yeah.
and maybe they don't have the same exact path, but they still see that. And and also that we're talking about the vulnerability today, right? And we're talking about, like, hey, it's not always like a superstar like show of like wondrous like joy. Like, there are times when you're like, what the heck am I doing, or what, why am I even doing this? But that vulnerability is important to share too, because it's like, okay, so they felt vulnerable, and they had this process, but now, like, you have your podcast and I have my shows and my classes, and you know what I'm saying, like
Yep.
we built these entities from a concept.
Yep.
I love going to bookstores myself,
Yeah.
because like when I go to bookstores and I sit there and I look at every book, and I'm like, every single one of these books was an idea that somebody had.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that just makes me so excited, you know?
Yep.
And they took it and they ran with it, and they kept showing up to the page. This is the thing: show up to the page, the stage, the idea, the question, the business, the podcast, whatever your jam is, whatever your process is, you just got to keep showing up and showing up and showing up. So they can go to facebook.com, play at Creativity Lab, and that is our page. And I post stuff on there all the time. So whether you come to the class or not, you can come on there. There's all sorts of inspirational stuff and fun activities and games and ideas. And if you would like to hear soul stories, facebook.com/soul stories live, which is our Facebook page. All our shows are posted there. And then if you're like, Victoria, I just totally want to work with you one-on-one and just like transform my entire reality, then you can find me personally at prosperitycareercoaching.com. Thank you. Be well.
Thank